Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of the African Muslims Agency Management, the team, the volunteers, the delegation that went over to Lebanon and Afghanistan, we'd like to thank one and all for taking time out of your day today to come here and to witness the events for today. By the grace of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our ladies delegation have come home safely from both Lebanon and Afghanistan. And today, you will hear first-hand encounters from both of them as they share their experiences, the joys, the tears from all orphans across the globe. We also have a very special guest from all the way from Lebanon today. To me, she is known as Mother because when we were on the trip with her, she was our mother. She looked after us, she treated us with the best of care, and she gave us the most amazing experience. Jihan Kaisi, all the way from Lebanon. And when she is on today, I guarantee you, if you give her all your attention, you'll have goosebumps today, and you will not leave here the same way you left when you walked, the same way you came in today. I guarantee you that much. So take the time, listen to her attentively, and she'll also be around here. You can go up to her. I promise you, she's the most kind person. She'll talk to you for hours. So she is here waiting for you. We also want to welcome our live guests on Salam Media today. They're also joining us today. And there's a few things that we have going on today as well. One of them is the live pledge. We have a WhatsApp number. You can speak to any of the delegation here today. You'll see we all have t-shirts on. Go to any of them, ask them for the WhatsApp number, and you can privately WhatsApp us your pledge or your donation today. We have a target for 30 feeder villages today. That means one for every single day of Ramadan. So today we will enjoy good food. It will be tasty, and we will think about them when we're eating it. So let us be generous in our donations. It is 15,000 Rand a day. 15,000 Rand a day, what does it do? It feeds approximately 2,000 people. We know the reward for fasting in Ramadan. Take that reward, multiply it by 2,000 people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you will not detect from them, you will not detach their reward. The same reward will be placed onto you. So for one day of Ramadan that you fasted, imagine you feed 2,000 people. There is 2,001 rewards you've received for one day. There is something that we cannot get back. If you take your life in general, you will not receive that in your entire life of fasting. For one feed a village today, for 15,000 Rand, you are guaranteed that. Let's take that opportunity with full hands. We also have a credit card machine on hand. The guys are also available for that. We will be able to take your donations live. The other aspects of it we'll go through during the event. But today we're going to start off with a Qiraat by Yaman. Just brief introduction to Yaman. Yaman is an orphan from Syria who fled with his family to Lebanon and is living in the refugee camps. Yaman is one of the children that has been sponsored through the Orphan Hope Project of African Muslims Agency. And Yaman is the kid that wakes up every single day with hope in his eyes. They had nothing. Their mother has taught them the Quran, and he and his brother have become Hafizul Quran by their mother. She has decided that I will not sit back and let the world dominate me, but I will teach my children something. What does Yaman do? On the day of Eid, Yaman gets up and goes to the refugee camps. He recites Quran for them, and he recites and gives nasheed for them. Why does he do it? So that the children can have some sense of hope, some sense of enjoyment on the day of Eid. We all know on the day of Eid how happy we are to see our family, to share our experiences and our joys. This is what he does for them. So I will let Yaman, he'll be on screen now. Listen to him and see what he does.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقال فرعون ذروني أقتل موسى وليدع ربه إني أخاف أن وقال موسى إني عذت بربي وربكم من كل متكبر لا يؤمن بيوم الحساب وقال رجل مؤمن من آل فرعون يقتل إيمانه أتقتلون رجلا أن يقول ربي الله أن يقول ربي الله وقد جاءكم بالبينات من ربكم وإن يك كاذبا فعليه كذبه وإن يك صادقا يصبكم بعض الذي يعدكم إن الله لا يهدي من هو مسرف كذاب.
How beautiful was that recitation from Yaman? Today, I just want to start off with something a little bit different, and we're going to start off with a small auction item. I don't know if everybody can see this. This comes from a skills center that Africa Muslims Agency has set up in Lebanon. It's called the Aramon Skills Center. The lady behind us has left her country. She was tortured, she was raped, and she got to Lebanon to seek her new life. Through adversity, she came through it all, and she decided that I will not sit back and I will fight this. And she started a skills development program. What is written on here is love and hate. Today, the minimum I want for this thing here today is 15,000 Rand. It is the minimum I want from it. It is all handmade, and today I think it is worth a lot more, but we want to start at 15,000. So you can speak to anybody here today. They will all assist you. And let's get this. We have a few of them there. So please, that is something you can cherish for the rest of your life. We're going to go over now to Catherine. Catherine was one of the ladies on the delegation that went to Afghanistan as well as Lebanon. And she will share from you the experiences that the ladies delegation went through. Catherine?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Catherine Constantinides, and I recently had the absolute privilege and honor to be part of the first woman delegation to Kabul, Afghanistan, with Africa Muslim Agency. This was an experience like an experience I've never had before. I've worked in many parts of the world, and as a humanitarian, you see a great deal of things. But the pain and suffering that I saw and witnessed firsthand in Afghanistan will live with me forever. We had the opportunity to not only learn, to not only understand, but to be given the stories of families, of women who are widows, and who have children, so many children that are orphans. Now in Afghanistan, once you've lost your father, you are considered an orphan. And the thousands upon thousands of orphans that have been left behind because of the unrest is absolutely heartbreaking. Every single day we walked the mountains of Kabul and we entered into homes or dwellings. Because for some people to live in a small hole carved out of the mountainside, surely this is not the kind of home that we would wish for anyone to live in. We sat and spent time with women who are looking after 8 children. Women who don't know how they're going to feed those 8 little mouths that look at them every single day. We spent time with women who shared with us that now as we enter the holy month of Ramadan, they don't know how they'll break their fast because they barely have bread and water to eat every single day. We were in a home and there was a small child of about 2 or 3 years old. And the child's leg had been bandaged with newspaper, with all kinds of different materials, strips of different materials. And when we asked what had happened to her child, he had had a really bad fall on the side of the mountain. But they couldn't afford to go and see a doctor, let alone fix the broken leg. And so every single day she finds newspaper to re-bandage his leg with. And he's in a lot of pain. And you can see how blue and swollen his foot was. Every day we got up, and myself with 3 remarkable women who absolutely were just poured themselves into the work that we did. Yasmin, Fatima, and Sumaya, who are here today. I don't know where they're all sitting, but they are here today. These 3 women, I watched as they shared the pain and the emotion of each and every story that was given to us to hold, to share, and to take into the world. Because Afghanistan is certainly a forgotten country and a forgotten people. I had the privilege to not only represent AMA and work on a campaign called More Than a Meal, but I got to see More Than a Meal in action. I got to be a part of something that is so powerful. More Than a Meal is not just the name of a campaign. It was the doing. There was a morning where we met a man with donkeys, and in the baskets on those donkeys, we loaded the food that needed to be taken up the mountain. Because for some families, it is impossible to come down the mountain to simply get food. And those donkeys were loaded with the food, and we walked behind the donkeys to get to the homes where that food needed to be. We met with people who are the human beings behind the images that we see in the media. We got to know their names. We got to know their stories. This in itself a great privilege, but with that privilege, a great responsibility. The pain of the children in Kabul is something that I will never ever forget. Because anywhere in the world that you work, children still know how to smile, they know how to laugh, and you'll find them playing. You'll find them playing with pieces of waste, you'll find them playing in broken cars, you'll find them playing wherever it might be. But in Afghanistan, it's different. Because for the first time ever, I looked at the eyes of these children and there was absolutely no hope, no light, and no understanding of the world that they live in. Because the reality is, at the age of 5, if you can walk, talk, and you can start moving around, you go to work. Education is not a priority because in Afghanistan, people are starving to death. People are so hungry that children from the age of 4 and 5 go to start to work. We met with so many children that wash cars, wash carpets, sell plastic bags for a mere 12 cents a day. And they take that money home to a mother who's looking after other children, other siblings. And in some families, we even saw how the eldest child, because of the circumstance, the pain and the struggle of a mother, her only option is to give her child away to be married from the age of 12. And when you sit in those very homes and the mother says to you, please feel the wall, lift the mat that we're sitting on, and there's damp and wet, and the children in that home are constantly sick because the environment that they live in, all that they have, does not allow them anything more than just that space. And as you touch that wall, you feel the damp. And as you lift the carpet, you can see the rot of the mountainside or the concrete that's underneath the mat that you're sitting on. But this is the very home of that 6 to 8, sometimes 12 people in a small abode. It is painful to understand a mother's agony when she looks at her children and doesn't know how she's going to feed them tonight. When a child comes to you and says to you that they're hungry, but you have nothing to give them. In Kabul, we visited the bakery project, and the bakery project allows that certain families in Kabul can go with a voucher and on a voucher system every single day, and depending on how many people are in that family and home, they will be given certain amounts of loaves of bread. That bread will feed them for a week, and most often, that bread is the only food that they will get that week. We traveled on the very first day. I remember walking up those mountains of Kabul that are very steep, very dangerous. And we got to the final home that we were going to visit. And in that home, it was almost a hole in the mountain. There was a carved little space, almost like a window frame. And sitting at that window frame was an old, frail lady who was hunched down on her knees and sat and waited to know if we were going to be coming inside her home. When we entered her home, she sat on the floor with us and she asked us to just be quiet and listen to her stomach. Her stomach grumbled and she cried. And she told us she can't remember the last time that she ate. She's too frail to leave that mountain. She's too frail to even come outside of just that window frame that she sits. She asked Fatima if Fatima would look. She wanted to lift her clothes and she wanted Fatima to look at something. And we were absolutely terrified. We didn't know what she was going to show us. And as she lifted her top, her entire stomach was concaved. And she explained to us how hungry she is. She lost one of her sons in the war. Another son was with her but injured and cannot work. And she lost her husband a long time ago. She was over 80. We estimate she was between 80 and 90 years old. And what one has to understand is that she is one of thousands of women who are on that mountain at that age and have no food and have no access to food. We saw more than a meal become the dignity, the hope, the security, and the nourishment that women such as her require and need. We saw more than a meal come to life. We saw an entire campaign and program touch the lives of people. And so today, when you sit here and there are items for auction and there are opportunities to support this campaign, and even during the month of Ramadan, I ask you to just look at what you have in front of you. Every night when you eat, think of the people in Kabul who possibly will not eat that night. We have to remember that we're so blessed in our daily lives. There are so many things that we have access to that we take for granted. The pain and the suffering of the people that we saw in Kabul, when you look at a child and they merely exist, they don't even live. You understand that our responsibility as a human race is far greater now than it ever has been. The rate of orphans and more orphans becoming statistics in Kabul and Afghanistan is horrifying. It is a number in the thousands on a daily basis. And what we require is for us to stand together as humanity, for us to all do what we can. It doesn't require for all of us to go to Kabul or Afghanistan or even Lebanon. But from where we are able to support organizations such as African Muslim Agency, who are on the ground 365 days a year. We were there for just a week, but their work never stops. The work that was done in both Afghanistan and Lebanon requires great determination, strength, and courage for the people who work on the ground every single day. You will hear shortly from Jihan, who is an unbelievable woman who works constantly on the ground in Lebanon. Having come from Afghanistan and having seen the pain and the struggle there, you see a very different reality when you get to Lebanon. And many of the speakers to follow will share that. But I want to leave you with the thoughts and the understanding that Afghanistan is certainly a forgotten place in this world. There are beautiful people there who require love and hope and a light that is given to them through this campaign and project. Because for people to not have to worry how they're going to eat, it allows them to worry about how they'll educate their children, how they'll support their children moving forward. But when that cornerstone of feeding their family and addressing the hunger that they face every single day, when that is so real, they cannot think of anything else. And therefore you have a situation and a cycle of extreme poverty and hunger that will never cease to exist because the pain and the suffering consumes every single person. We saw women who, there was one home, and later today I'll find the image or the videos and I'll actually post them on social media. We had to climb into a hole to get underneath the foundation of a home. And when we climbed through that hole to get to the abode that a woman and her children were living in, it was probably no bigger than 2 tables put together. That was her entire life. Her entire existence was inside of that almost cave that she lived in. You understand the struggle of people, and you understand how we all have the same dreams and hopes and beliefs. Every mother wants to be able to feed her children. She wants to hope that her children will have a better life than the circumstances they find themselves in. But the pain and the struggle for Afghani women is insurmountable. Women are living on their own. We met a mother who goes and looks for plastic. She looks in the rubbish for plastic so that she can burn that plastic to make bread. That bread is the only money that she will make to feed her 5 daughters. Those same 5 daughters that she's trying to get through school. Those same daughters that have to walk up and down those mountains of Kabul every single day in order to access that education. Their struggle is real. And their tenacity and their courage is real too. We had the privilege to meet these incredible women. But the pain and the suffering in the eyes of those children is something that will never leave you. The pain and the suffering of the children that need to be the future of a country. As part of the program, we were privileged to go to the only child hospital in Afghanistan, based in Kabul. And there we handed over a skin graft machine. But aside from that, AMA made a commitment that during the month of Ramadan, they would give 500 warm food meals every single night to the parents who are at that hospital that come from very far and have to sleep outside the hospital as they wait for their child's treatment. And this kind of contribution from AMA is something I cannot ever explain to you, because when you walk through the corridors of that hospital and you see how they put 3 and 4 children on a bed, children who have got different ailments, different problems, are there for different reasons, but because they cannot afford to put each child on a bed, you see all of these children being piled onto beds with no equipment in that hospital, no machinery, and mothers who are struggling just to survive, to be able to hold the hand of their children. And so a warm meal every single night is going to change their life during the month of Ramadan. Again, a contribution made under the campaign of More Than a Meal. A campaign that is truly, it's more about the doing than about the name. Because, again, I remind you, we were privileged to see More Than a Meal in action. Every day when we were sliding up and down those mountainsides because they were so treacherous, we would see children running up and down. We had normal, proper closed shoes, and these children have learned to run up and down these very dangerous mountains. With open shoes in the winter, with broken feet, we saw so many children with scrapes and scratches on their faces from having fallen. But they can't look after those scrapes and scratches either. Broken limbs. These are just some of the things that we saw every single day. And every single day we had to go back to where we were staying. And we had to regather ourselves so that the very next day we could find the courage and strength to go back out and through such a campaign, give light and hope, and most importantly, dignity to the women of Kabul that we were privileged to work with. The projects that run on the ground are not just a moment in time. These are long-term projects that aim to really give sustainable opportunities to feed a family, to each family that is either adopted, supported through More Than a Meal, orphans that are adopted, people that are on the Bakery of Hope project. And these are things that are really important because it's your contributions on days such as this that make that work possible every single day. When you sit with a woman and she has a child that's the same age as yours, and you ask that child what they dream of, knowing when you ask your own child what they dream of, you understand the myriad of things that they'll tell you they dream of and they hope for and they want to achieve and want to do, or the places they want to go. And a child will look at you in the eyes and they tell you they dream of food. They dream of a meal. That is what this campaign is about. When a child asks you just for one outfit, just for one dress for Eid, a dress that she's never had before, and she's 12 or 14 years old, and she's never owned her own clothing before. Everything has been passed down or given to her, but she's never had something new to ever wear. These are the stories we need to think about, most especially in a country where, for us, our Muslim community, Ramadan, Eid, it's so important, but it's such a huge celebration. While we celebrate, let us allow that through more than a meal, the people in Kabul and Afghanistan can also celebrate. I want to share one last story with you, and that is of a family that we met that shared with us, a mother with 5, I could be mistaken, maybe 6 children, and she shared with us that when it's Eid, she's going to try and keep her children asleep. She doesn't want her children to see what other children do on Eid. She doesn't want them to see how they celebrate because she cannot afford to give them any kind of celebration, let alone the meals that they deserve. These are the stories we need to remember. These are the people we need to remember. Kabul in Afghanistan is not an easy place to be in. It's certainly not an easy country to go to. And yes, of course, there are security and safety issues, but the work on the ground has to be done regardless. So to the leadership here of Africa Muslim Agency, as well as that leadership component in Afghanistan, and to the 3 women that I was privileged to travel with and to do this journey with. Sometimes in our lives, we are called to make very difficult decisions. Decisions that require of us to dig deeply, to weigh up the risk, and to decide if it's something we're going to do or not. And for the 4 women who traveled to Afghanistan, myself included, it was a very difficult task, a very difficult ask to decide that we were going to go to Afghanistan. But we made such a decision based on the fact that we knew that we were required. This was written, and we needed to go to Afghanistan. We needed to meet with every single family that we saw, every home that we entered, and every widow that shared with us her pain and her struggle. We needed to be there not only to listen to her story, but to bring her story home, so that we may remember her story as we continue our work as humanitarians here in South Africa and everywhere else in the world. It was a risk that we were prepared to take, and I think if you ask any of the other 3 ladies, they'll tell you the same thing. If you ask us to leave and to go again tomorrow, we'll be on that flight and we'll be there tomorrow. I don't know it's something that I would ask of anyone else, but I would go to war with these 3 women, having done what we did, faced what we had to face in Afghanistan, and had to feel the fear and the pain and struggle every single day of the widows and the orphans, that we had to look in their eyes and see that they merely exist and they don't live. The pain of the Afghani children is a pain that is there because of a long struggle and because not enough people have taken the risk to go and to give themselves to another human being. So to the African Muslim Agency, to the teams on the ground, to the teams that have gone before us, I salute you. And I thank you for your bravery and your courage to continue to do the work that needs to be done in a country such as this. Because more than a meal is giving hope and dignity. It is giving security to the families that cannot travel up and down that treacherous mountain, to women who are so frail that they cannot move, and to the orphans that don't know life outside of working by selling a plastic bag at the age of 5. Afghanistan keeps a part of our hearts with it. And home, we brought a part of Afghanistan back with us. And it is now our responsibility and duty to continue to share the stories and to continue to ensure that we do all that we can to make sure that More Than a Meal is able to continue to thrive and to touch more and more lives in Kabul. It is hard to understand and to really conceptualize everything that we went through, every story that needs to be told. But I have no doubt that every single one of these women that I was with will continue to use their platforms and their voice to share those stories. We walked into a home where there was no electricity and no water, but there was a fridge. And we were like, oh my goodness, this woman has a fridge. I had not seen a fridge anywhere. We hadn't seen a fridge in any home. And as we walked towards it and we were really excited to see the fridge. And as we walked to that fridge and we opened it, it was used as a cupboard. There was no food to put in that fridge. There was no electricity to turn that fridge on. But there was a need to just store her few humble things that she had. She did arts and crafts and was beading beautiful things. And she kept all of those things inside of that fridge. I've never seen a fridge used in the manner that it was used, like a cupboard. And she, every single day, will continue to weave the beautiful arts and crafts. She will bead the things that she's doing, but all for such a mere amount of money, just to feed her family, to feed her 2 children that still cannot go to school. 2 children that because of this trip, Yasmin and Fatima were able to get a sponsor for those children, ensuring that a meal goes into that home each and every day. Again, you are the people on the other side of that blessing for that family. Because when any of these teams under the banner of African Muslim Agency are either in Afghanistan, in Lebanon, wherever in the world they may be, and they make that call and ask you, can you help? Are you able to support? Can you buy a machine? Can you do something? You are touching the life of somebody somewhere. That life may change forever because of that one contribution. Somebody yesterday asked me if I think that because the need is so great and the work is so important, do I think that we're able to make any difference? When thousands of children become orphans every single day, is what we were able to do of any value? And my answer is, if we can change the life of one child, what if that one child becomes a prime minister in 20, 30 or 40 years from now and remembers a delegation from a far off country that came and sat in his home with his mother and his 6 brothers and sisters, sat there and gave them hope, light, and belief that they can be more than the circumstances they find themselves in? What if one of the children that we met is able to go out and become a doctor and touch the lives of thousands of Afghanis that are injured in war every single day? What if one of those children is inspired to fulfill her own education and becomes a teacher that in turn inspires an entire generation of Afghani children that become the leaders of their country in years to come? All because somebody believed that they deserved to be able to eat a meal every single day. These are the questions we must ask ourselves, because no man will make a greater mistake than somebody who does nothing because they can only do a little. And so we all have an immense responsibility. I'm not asking you to go anywhere. I'm asking you from where you are, contribute every single day. Every single one of us has the strength and the power to do something every single day. And so I ask you to leave here today and to think, as you enter the holy month of Ramadan, what is it that you can do not only in that month? How can you support More Than a Meal? But how are you able to contribute to changing the lives of those around you every single day? To each and every one of the leaders again from African Muslim Agency, to the teams on the ground that worked extensively, were in touch with us constantly. I thank you, Jazakallah. May you be blessed, and as you enter this holy month, may you and your families be incredibly blessed, and may we all find a reason and a purpose to continue doing what we do. To Jihan, for looking after me in Lebanon when I was so sick, Jazakallah. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do on a daily basis. I didn't even get to talk about Lebanon, but I know that is going to be covered and it's going to be spoken about widely. To each and every one of you for following our journeys, for following our Insta stories, our posts, our tweets, all of it. Thank you so very, very much. And to the women who were part of each of the delegations, I honor each and every one of you, your journeys and the work that you did, and seeing the depth that you found in yourselves every single day. I thank you. Jazakallah.
African Muslims Agency is taking the More Than a Meal campaign to 14 different countries around the globe. Providing meals protects children from having to work all day to provide food for their families. A meal means diminishing grief and burden on the already vulnerable populations everywhere. Donate now somewhere in Africa or refugee camp somewhere in the world for 15,000 rand. This Ramadan, give with African Muslims Agency so much more than a meal.
Yusuf. Yusuf is 6 years old. And Yusuf provides for his family. He's the breadwinner over here. So Yusuf sells packets. Yusuf sells packets on the streets of Kabul. We told Yusuf we want one packet. So Yusuf says it's 10 Afghanis. 10 Afghanis. So we give him the 50. And he says to us, I need to give you 40 change. So we tell him, it's a gift. He doesn't understand what I'm saying. So he gives me the money back because I told him, take the packet back because I don't need it. And he gives me the money back. What honesty from a 6-year-old. I mean, today we know in business how people are when it comes to small things. And my 6-year-old has so much of honesty in it. Put a point in his pocket, so I just went for him. And he said, no, you didn't take it back, so take your money back. And this is the character of a 6-year-old orphan. So we need to take this child doesn't need to be selling packets at 6 years old to provide for his family. He needs to be paying, he needs to be going to school, and that's what he needs to be doing. So we need open sponsorship so that 6-year-old Yusuf doesn't have to go and sell packets so he can provide for the rest of his family. It's just not right for 6 and 7-year-olds to be doing that in very young age. He needs to be a youngster, looking forward to going to get education, playing outside, running around, and just doing what a normal 6 or 7-year-old would do. It's just not right that these kids run among so much on a daily basis and think it's normal. And that's their life. Often hope 15,000 every year, just 15,000 every year can change orphan's life. On levels you cannot imagine. On levels you cannot imagine. That's here in Afghanistan, African Muslim Agency. That's here, that's here. He's in a dry eye Muslim. I can tell every brother, no matter how strong he is, he's shedding a tear right now in this room.
We had to walk 50 minutes up this mountain to get to this family. And this 7-year-old is doing that walk on a daily basis. If you leave us abandoned, if you ignore this, if we tend to think this is normal and we leave it, then when you come back 7 years old later, you have to pay. He's 12 months old, will be on the streets selling the same thing, and this family will be in this very same condition. You will have the opportunity to change them. Do not turn a blind eye to this. Do not ignore this. For the Almighty has chosen the message to reach to you. If you ignore it, this will be the condition, inevitably. Our team is on the ground, launching the More Than a Meal campaign in 14 different countries across the globe. And I urge you, visit www.africamuslimsagency.co.za and you can make a difference today. You can be the change you want to see right now.
I want to thank Catherine for giving us some insight into Afghanistan. And as I watched that video, I recall the many moments that we shared today. But I don't want to get into it because it will bring tears to my eyes again. I just want to remind you once again that on the right-hand side we have a mock-up tent of what the refugees from Syria live in. And I appeal to you, take 5 minutes of your time today and go and sit inside there. Just immerse yourself in what they live like and speak to any of the ladies that are here and ask them what their experience were. They spent one night in the tent and ask them how they felt, what was it like, and share the experience with them. We also have a water well mock-up here. Water is one of the major needs in Africa, especially in rural areas where they do not have access to clean water. Have a look at what it looks like, and with a donation from you, you can make water an ease for them so that they don't have to go. All of these tie together into a More Than a Meal campaign. So what is More Than a Meal? To most of us, More Than a Meal means in Ramadan, adding an extra meal to the samosas and pies that we've made. That is what is More Than a Meal to us. But to these people all over the world, including South Africa, including our doorstep, More Than a Meal means that a female child does not have to walk every single day to the water well to get water so that they can have water to have in their home. It means that she can rest for that day or for that month and she can do something else, as in go to school. We know education is rebuilding a future. A child without education doesn't have that opportunity. The same with More Than a Meal for an Afghani child who has to walk up a mountain up and down to get water. To put into context, the mountain in Afghanistan took us 50 to 55 minutes to walk up. When we think of a mountain view in South Africa, you think of Clifton, you're staying on the top, you're the richest person around because you've got the best views and you've got the most beautiful scenery. But to the person who's living on the top of the mountain in Afghanistan, what does it mean to them? They are the poorest of the poor because the rent is the cheapest up there. It means that that child has to walk up and down the same mountain 3 to 4 times a day just to get water. So providing meals and providing all of these initiatives by African Muslim Agency relieves the stress from them. And that is why it is so important for us to take time out to experience this, to donate to these causes and make a difference. I just want to give you a short insight into Lebanon before I bring on Jihan. This month or this year marks 10 years in the Syrian conflict. So what does it mean? It means that the people from Syria have fled their countries for 10 years. What is supposed to be a temporary solution has now become a permanent home. It means children have been born there. They are in a stateless, they don't even have a state to call home anymore. There are Palestinians that are living in Lebanon since 1948. What does that mean? It means it's 70 years that they've been living in refugee camps in Lebanon. That means if you were born in 1948, you've lived your entire life in a refugee camp. You are an old person now. You've seen grandchildren grow up, and your life was in a refugee camp. So please listen attentively to Jihan today. She shares experiences on the ground. For those of you who don't know Jihan, she is the senior person in her organization. But where is she every single day? She's on the ground. So I call upon Jihan, and there's nothing more for me to say but for her to share experience with her. Please, come on, mother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. I'm so glad to be here among all of you. It's my third day here in South Africa, and I feel like it's home because there's a lot of people that I know that I met in Lebanon, many ladies delegations and gentlemen as well delegations. So I'm really happy, and what I have known, you always relate any country to the people that you know. 2 years ago, I came to South Africa, but it's not like the same like today. That time, I didn't know much people. But since this 2-3 years, I have known a lot of amazing people. And what I know about people in South Africa, they are really kind-hearted and they want to help as much as they can the refugees and the needy everywhere. Okay, I want to give you a brief, before talking about sharing stories about experiences in the field, I want to give you a brief about Lebanon. Lebanon is a small country. We as Lebanese are around 4 million, while we have 1.5 million Syrian refugees and 500,000 Palestinian refugees and other nationalities. So imagine in a country of 4 million Lebanese, we have 2 million refugees. You can imagine the situation. Lebanon now suffers from economical crisis, revolution, protest, also added the coronavirus and pandemic and everything. So the situation in Lebanon, everyone suffers from starvation, but the situation of the refugees is much, much, much worse today than ever. I want to next slide. Okay, everyone asked me how I got into the humanitarian work and why I'm still in this since 22 years till now, and I'm still in this humanitarian work. I don't call it a humanitarian work. For me, it's a humanitarian life. It's my passion. It's where I feel alive, and the reason why I'm in this because of this girl. I took this picture 22 years ago for a girl called Hanan. Hanan is a Palestinian girl. She was 13 years old at that time. She lived in a house that does not look like a house with her 7 siblings. There were 7 daughters, 2 sons, and a mother, no father. So the first, like any other girl, I used to have a dream, and this dream grew up with me. I wanted to be a famous journalist. So everyone will know Jihan Kaisi as a famous journalist. So I have read about the world, about everything happening in the whole world. I was on the honor list. I went to good schools in order to accomplish my dream to be a very famous journalist. And in my graduation year, I got an assignment to write about Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, and I never knew what are they. I never knew. No one told me about them. So I went to Miyo camp. It's a Palestinian camp in Saida, and I met Hanan. And the question that I asked her, what do you eat? Because there's nothing in their house. And I still remember the look in her eyes when she looked at me and she told me, whenever we feel hungry, we bring white peppers and we start to draw. I gather my siblings and we draw chicken. We close our eyes and imagine ourselves eating it. And we draw apple. Like we colored it with green color. They told us that apple are delicious, but we never tried it before. Then she pointed at a faraway house. She told me, every day I look at that house and imagine how it feels to live in a house with walls, doors, and windows. We never had this before. So this girl made me feel first ashamed of myself. Imagine I was on the honor list. I was on my graduation year to be a journalist. And I never knew that in Lebanon, we have Palestinian refugees who live not far away from my house. No one told me about them. So I went home at that night. And I remember my mom prepared several kinds of food for me. I looked at food and I didn't eat. I couldn't eat. I just imagined them, 10 members living in this that they call house, and they have nothing to eat. And I went to my room, and my room used to be big, so I felt it like so narrow on me. I couldn't breathe at that day. I spent 3 days of frustration, shame, and in pain, and cried a lot. Then I decided my tears will not help them. My pain will not feed them. So I wanted to do something. So I wrote my first humanitarian article, and I named it Living in Her Drawings. And I talked about Hanan. This article was published in USA in a famous magazine. Few days ago, I got a call from a manager of COO of a big NGO, and he called me and he's saying, we need to help Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, and we need a proposal from you. I never knew how to write a proposal. I taught myself by myself. I wrote a proposal about house rehabilitation in the Palestinian refugee camps, and I got my first funds for this, and I was all by myself. The first house that we supported was Hanan's house. We built the house. We give them furniture. It was the first time they sleep in bed, and we got them into schools, and they now have like a good future. This is the kitchen that used to be before and after. So you can see some pictures about Hanan and this amazing family that they are considered my own family because they changed me for what I am now. Here, what I want to say something that Allah always choose for us what's best, and I feel lucky and I feel honored because Allah chose me to be the voice of the refugees worldwide. I did not get married, I don't have kids, but I have a big number of orphans. Then they call me mom, and this satisfies me. And I remember someone 2 years ago asked me, do you feel regret that you are not a famous journalist now? No one knows you as a journalist, and you wasted, that they told me, you wasted your life helping refugees that they must be appreciated for what you have done. No one knows you. I told him, no, I don't feel regret because it's enough for me that I'm well known in the hearts of the widows and orphans, that they love me for me. And this satisfies me. You know, every day, every morning, I wake up with a passion, with the thinking, how many lives we're going to help this day? This is the passion. Since 22 years till now, I never lost that passion. Every day it's like energy. It's like Allah is giving me more energy to give more and more. And I have big families in the camps. And the delegation saw that wherever we go, there's a lot of people that running and call me Jojo. So this is my passion that I really, really feel privileged. I feel lucky that Allah chose me for this. Okay, next slide. Okay, if you wonder how refugees live in Lebanon, I will give you just some pictures to show they live in tents like this, and in the borders, yes, all of us together, and they live in the borders between Lebanon and Syria. This is the winter. You know, imagine living in a tent surrounded by snow, and inside look what rain does in the camps. This is how refugees live in the camp, and the tent here is much better than what refugees live in. And also, sometimes they use candle to light up the tent inside, and fires happen. And in this camp, a child 1 year and a half died, and his mother couldn't rescue him because of the fire. The whole camp got burned. And this child was trying to save some of their belongings. You know, those refugees lost their houses in Syria, and they came home to live in tents. They used to have houses, they used to have dreams, they used to have furniture, they used to have everything. And now, since 10 years till now, they lost everything. Yes, those are samples of families. So I will talk about other families to share you some of the other stories. Those are the children, they have no mom, no dad. This is how they look. And you can see that their looks talk and their smiles also talk. Okay, can we get to the stories? Okay, stories from the field. Okay, I want to talk about this family, and we'll show you a video about it. This is the family of Noor that I met like 2 weeks ago in Irsal. Irsal is in the borders between Lebanon and Syria, and it has a big number of refugees. We are talking about 90,000 of Syrian refugees living in an area of 30,000 Lebanese. So you can see that the refugees are triple the Lebanese in that area. And most of them don't have official papers. Most of them came illegally because they came walking, running away from war in Syria to Lebanon. And the husband and the father of this girl is paralyzed, and he got injured in Syria, and he's like this. So the family depend on the mother, who spends from early morning till night in order to bring bread for the family, working for $1 per day. But the misery she's living in this tent is her daughter Noor and the little one Malak. You know, this family told me, they told me we are not looking for Ramadan. They told me it's haram to say this, but believe me, we are not looking for Ramadan, because every Ramadan means more pain for us, more misery, more melancholy. She told me during iftar time, they just pray and wait for the others to finish their meals, for the other tents, for the other houses. They bring them the leftovers, and sometimes there are no leftovers. So if you can prepare the video of Noor. And usually I don't get that emotional because yes, yes.
أنا وعيلتي، أنا وأهلي، وجعنا كتير كبير. أول ما جينا الهون صار مع بابا الحدث، كلمتنا جربنا وقفت تشتغل بالبيوت، كان حدي ما كان عندنا لا حواضر للبيت ولا شي نحطه على فطور. بابا صار تطلع تفطر البيوت، حدا بيعطيها بيشتري اللي بتاعتي، حدا بيطلب، ما كان في أمل، ما في أمل بالنوم. مرت علينا الأيام اللي صارت هيك هذا آخر هذا هيك كانت حالة تبكي. أنا ندري أنا الولاد شو بتشرب لك هيك انسي انسي. هي وانا بتشوفي بالطريق مش عادي اللي عم ياكل شيء بدهم تشتهي. انا بس الاشياء منها تصير بس بشرب الطبع هيك مرة يعني شو بدك تساوي ورا؟ تساوي شيء ما حد جاب تساوي بين عن الناس القليلة عشان احنا ما عادش نتحدث عايش بخير وسلام. حرقت أبي يقف عشان ظهري، حرقت الدم وحريته، حرقت أن يكون بني آدم مثل أي بني آدم، حرقت أن يكون فتاة أي فتاة. There's a lot of Noor and Malak I don't easily emotional because I have seen a lot. During 22 years, every day I see a lot of families. So it's like, but this family made me really, really very, very sad from deep inside, because the little one, Malak, told me, and that's what Catherine talked about, that they are not looking for Eid. She never had new clothes for Eid. And she spent the Eid on her tent, sleeping, trying to hide in the corner of the tent. And it is supposed to be a day of joy for children, even if they are poor. They have the right to feel happy. So she told me, I just want Eid. I want to close my eyes and open it, and Eid is over, because I can't go out of the tent, and the other children might mock at me because I only have this pajama, that the only clothes that I have. So subhanallah, there's a lot like this family, and there are many families that also the ladies delegation met, and they said the same. So they are not looking for Ramadan, not looking for Eid. The second story I want to share with you is the story of Dima. You know, there's a huge blast happened in Beirut in August 4, and it caused like around 200 that many injuries and still missing people. And the people who got affected by Beirut blast
were Lebanese, Syrians, and Palestinians. And it happened that his family used to live in Beirut. It's a father, a mother, 4 daughters who came from Syria. The father wanted to protect his family. He was in good condition. He was not that poor. Although he was a Syrian refugee, but he used to have his own business and he was in good condition and he used to live in the house in an area called Karantina. And this area got affected most by the Beirut blast. And while I was there, by the way, Africa Muslims Agency was the first NGO who got immediate support for the people affected by Beirut blast. We were there the same night helping everyone. So during our distribution, after a few days, I met Dima. And Dima, she told me her story. She's 16 years old only. She lost her mom and 2 sisters in Beirut blast. And she was with some relatives, so I took her with me. And I want to show you a video about Dima, if we can. Dima, imagine that it was the 5th day of Adha. Yes.
I've got 2 daughters, and my oldest daughter is 22. And my oldest daughter is 22. And she, Latifa was 22. And if you think about it, this year, just a few days before the blast of Eid. And it says love. And that's what she chose to be. And then she's an expression of love. Look at my 22-year-old girl with dreams for her baby. I spoke to her dad the other day, and he was very and they saw that the hanging from the bird. He passed on, and she passed on. And I'm seeing a mattress here. For me, the hardest part is because somebody used to sleep there. I can see shoes. After the blast, they had to just come together as a community to start cleaning up the streets and finding the loved ones and trying to help each other. Because they're not sure if the rest of the world is really going to come and help. Because they just need to carry on their lives, and they've lost loved ones and they're missing loved ones. And some of them can't find them. The blast, some of them in hospital, of course, thousands in hospital. Now, so it's our responsibility as those to come and help. Like to make them feel like that we are one family, that we are not separate. It doesn't matter our nationality, religion, culture, ethnicity, race, whatever. We are one family. And on the way, yeah. And we have a responsibility to make these incredible human beings feel that they have family around them.
Do you know how Dima knew about the death of her mom and 2 sisters? Okay, they took her to the relative's house. The same night, someone called her, "We need the certificate of your mom, the date of her birth." She said, "Why?" They told her, "Because she died." The other day, they took her to the cemetery. She thought it's because her mom, so she's gone to the burying. On the car, she saw a certificate, the death certificate of her sister, elder sister, Latifa, 22 years old. She looked at it. Latifa died. They told her yes. She asked about the little sister, Jude. She asked them, "Where is she?" She said, "You'll see her now." And she went to the cemetery and she saw 3 bodies. Imagine the trauma that she faced and she's still struggling now. Imagine a 16 years old. She was supposed to be in her house feeling safe. The father didn't take them to live in a tent because he wanted a dignified life for his family. Suddenly, they lost half of the family. You can imagine how it feels. And Dima, she's the only survivor of this family, and her sister Diana, 18 years old, she spent 11 hours beside her dead mom under the rubble. Diana told me that she was trying to rescue her mom, breathing in her mouth. And her mom told her, please forgive me because I'm dying and I will leave you. Please take care of the other. The mother did not know that 2 of other daughters died. And she died. The explosion happened at around 6 p.m. and they rescued Diana around 5 a.m. And Diana spent 2 months on the intensive care unit and no one expected her to survive. And she still have physiotherapy sessions in order to be better, but alhamdulillah, she is better. When I took her from the hospital to their new house, she asked to take her to the sea. That's, you saw the previous picture. She wanted to go to the sea. The first thing she requested after 2 months in the hospital. I asked her why. She said because the last day before the explosion, we went all together to the sea as a family. And the sea remembers me of my mom. And the other picture, it was, they wanted me to take them to the cemetery on Mother's Day. It was the first Mother's Day without their mom. Mother's Day in Lebanon is on March 21. I took them on March 20. And you can see the feeling. They used to prepare for the Mother's Day party, preparing gifts, celebrating their mom. And it's the first time they just celebrated on the graves, that crying, and they were talking to her, how, mom, we missed you, we wish you are alive. So it was really very emotional to be this. Okay, this man, I used to know him a lot. I used to go to his camp. It's in an area called Bika in Lebanon, and it's also full of refugee camp. His name is Faris. We call him Uncle Faris. And he had like 8 children. He used to burn plastic in order to make the tent warm. So this caused him cancer in his tonsil, and he suffered a lot. And he died recently. And I met this family. And the mother told me, while he was dying, he was asking for forgiveness because he's leaving me with 8 children, orphans, with no support. And this little girl, she told me, I wish I go to heaven because I think heaven has apples, heaven has sweet things, and I wish that will take us with them. And I remember the ladies' delegation came to this family, and they all couldn't handle themselves. Everyone was on tears, hearing them talking in this very sad way. Okay, here I want to talk about the impact of More Than a Meal campaign. More than a meal campaign is not just about food or Ramadan. It's about dignity, about respect, about making those in need happy, to feel that they are human beings. And Noor, she was crying. She took it last 2 years ago. She wanted clothes for Eid. You can see the difference between 2 pictures when we got her the clothes. She was in tears. Simple things make refugees happy. Okay, you can see they all managed to find a way or a reason to feel happy and to smile. This is Amin. Amin is an orphan, got sponsored 2 years ago by Africa Muslims Agency. Amin was at school in Syria and their explosions happened. So he left the school, he came home, he saw the building on the ground. He asked about his family, his parents. He said, the neighbors told him, your mom and dad died in the explosion in Syria, inside Syria. So he came to Lebanon. He used to feel scared of any loud voice. but alhamdulillah, he got full sponsorship. His passion is to take pictures, so we got him a camera. He said, I want to take pictures, beautiful pictures for the refugees, because I want the world to know that refugees are happy. Refugees are not just people who want to beg. They are not beggars. They are people with dignity. So he captures beautiful pictures to show the world. And look at his smile. Malak, I don't know if you remember her 2 years ago. We posted a video about her, about Malak, and the misery that she was in. She felt that she's not a human being. There's dreams of strawberries, of food. So Malak, I want to show you a video about Malak and the impact of sponsorship and more than a meal campaign, what might offer those children, because there's a lot of people like Malak.
يعني حياتي دمعت فرح لأنه أنا كثير تغيرت حياتي. وين ملاك؟ مرحبا تعوسي. حبيبي كيفك؟ منيحة؟ تمام؟ بعت لك وأنا إذا ما صرت محامية ممكن أفكر صير صحفية، رح أبني المستقبل. أنا رح أدافع عن حقوق الأطفال، أنا رح أدافع عن العالم. عن جد صرت أحلم كثير أحلام حلوة. أنا عم تسمع بعدين؟ عن جد هاي مساعدة كبيرة. يجوا قلبي زي عندك نزلوا في أضافة النساء، فأنا نص انبسط ونص ما انبسط. قعدت وقت اللي اجوا، قعدت حكيت أنا وياه دردشنا وشكت لنا. نحن بس منقول وين الإسلام؟ وين الدين يجي يساعدنا؟ وين المسلمين؟ خلي يجي يساعدونا. شوفي كل العالم عايشة، كل الدول عايشة مكيفة وكلها بتياب بتجنن، إلا نحن. بس بدي أقول هاي الكلمة، وين الإسلام؟ وين المسلمين يجي يساعدونا؟ كنا كتير ننبسط وقت اللي يجي رمضان، بس هلا صراحة ما عم ننبسط، لأنه منا نعرف كيف بدنا نجيب الأكل بدنا ناكله، منا بنعرف إذا لما عم تجيبوا تاع الكراتين بدنا عم ناكل. الله كيف بعدنا فينا كله بالبيت، كل شي بتشتهي بدك إياه ما بنقدر نجيبه، بدنا وقت بنشتهي ما بنقدر إلا لما وقت بنشتهيه، مشان ما نتأثر إبني وتصير تبكي علينا. My heart is broken. Just listening to these young kids who have pretty much lost their childhood. They speak like adults, and it's just heartbreaking to listen to little stories about how they don't have different clothes to go to school in. How they wear the same clothes, how they don't have enough food, how their shoes are too small. It's, as a mum, it breaks my heart. I have an 11-year-old. Yes, I know. And they're amazing because they keep saying, don't cry. صراحة أنه شكيت إنه ما رح يرجع. بس إجيت بس وقت اللي إجا بابا عمران حياتي كلها انعكست صراحة. أنا تغيرت حياتي، تغيرت نفسيتي. موقف مؤثر وكان فرح وقت اهتم فيني، صار يبوسوني، صاروا يحكوا علي. أنا ماني متوقعة إنه في عالم تبكي علي قلبي. أنا هذا الموقف الأكثر شيء أثر فيني وهلا بتذكر. هو إجا ليعطيني الثقة والحنية والحب، وأنا كثير بحبه وبدعي له، بدعي لكل شيء بصير أفريقيا، بدعي لأهل جنوب أفريقيا كثير، لأنه هن اللي كتير حلو أو رائع يعني إنه ناس من مكان بعيد كتير عم يحسوا فينا إنهم من جنوب أفريقيا يعني غيروا لنا حياتنا نحو الأفضل، صار الفرق بحياتنا نحو الأفضل.
You can see this is the latest delegation 2019 who came to Lebanon and visit Malad, and I see Yumna here. She was on the video. And you know, those people, maybe UN agencies deal with them as refugees as numbers, but we deal with them as human beings. And for refugees, it's when you come, and this is the impact we leave on when delegations come to Lebanon and leave this impact in their heart, and you just feel, let them feel that they are not forgotten and they are cared, and that you support them, just feel with them, listen to them, smile to them, play with them. For them, it's really a big thing. Maybe after a few years, maybe the delegation, because of the pressure of life, they might forget about whom they met. But the refugees, believe me, after 2, 3, 4 years, they will never forget anyone that came to their tent and visited them. Okay, Yaman. Yaman is a very, very special refugee boy. And Yaman, as any child, he has a big dreams. And I want to show you a video about Yaman. But before posting this video, I want to tell you how I met Yaman. 2 years ago, it was last day of Ramadan. I was in refugee camps and I met Yaman. He came to me. He told me, I memorized the whole Quran, and Allah blessed me with a very beautiful voice, and I love to say anashid, and I'm using my talent to spread joy in the camps, because I don't want anyone to let us left alone without being happy. It's Eid. It's supposed to be for us as children. Although we are poor, we are refugees, but we want to feel happy. So he used to spend his time during Eid from camp to camp saying takbirat al-Eid. And this video we'll play now is about this.
محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم قال للصائم فرحتان، فرحة عند فطره وفرحة عند لقاء ربه. فمن حق كل شيء إنه يفرح بالهدية اللي الله هدانا إياها بعد صيام 30 يوم. فأنا حقدم تكبيرات العيد هدية مشان هاي الفرحة. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر، ولله الحمد. الله أكبر كبيرا، والحمد لله حمدا كثيرا، وسبحان الله العظيم وبحمده بكرة وأصيلا. لا إله إلا الله وحده صدق وعده ونصر عبده وأعز جنده وهزم الأحزاب وحده. لا شيء قبله ولا شيء بعده. لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي، رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. كل عام وانتم بخير، إن شاء الله العيد الجاي ببلادنا بغانمة سوريا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
They need to be treated like other children in the world. They don't have any rights. And there's a big number of children that was born in refugee camp. So they think that life is just a refugee camp. They don't know what's the other part of the world. Okay, this I will share you the last story. It's about four orphans who has no mom, no dad. While I was with the delegation in Arsal, I was busy with them, so I did not visit their tent. I was visit other families. And while leaving the camp, the little one, Marwa, ran to me and she gave me a small gift. And she told me, we made this gift for you on Mother's Day. We waited for you to come, but you did not come. We made it by our hand. And the gift, there's a red heart and there's Mama Jihan. This is for me. They considered me their mom. And I want you to tell you on Mother's Day, I did not go to the refugee camps. It was a very sad day for me because I lost my mom recently. So I spent that day, March 21, in the cemetery, just feeling sad talking to mom because it's my first time without having her around. So I felt when I saw them last week and they prepared a gift for me and they were waiting for me, I felt ashamed of myself. While others were waiting for me and I was alone crying, I was supposed to be in the refugee camps. I was supposed to be with every mother who lost her daughter, or with every orphan who lost his mother. So this is the impact that we leave. I did not know that they prepared the gift for me. I did not know that they love me that much. But you can, because I visit a lot of camps, a lot of families. We don't know the impact we are leaving in them, but they have that impact. And they told me, we always think of you. We always dream that you come to us again and again. And whenever you come to us, it's like Eid for us. Because, for girls, no mother, no father, you can imagine how their life is. Those smiles that keep us all this energetic and happy of doing this. This smile symbolizes the smiles of the happiness of every child. We need them. We need them. When we help them, there's a quote that I always say to myself. You feel the true meaning of happiness when you offer it to those in need. And this child and all children, when they feel happy for simple things, when we offer them cookie, sweets, candies, just when we play with them. And I remember when the ladies slept one night in a tent in Arsal, in a camp called Al-Wafa. You know what they have felt. They felt that people coming from far away to live with them just for one night. And they thought they would live forever, because on the other morning when we were leaving, they cried. The whole camp cried. They asking them, please don't leave. Don't leave, stay with us. And it was really very emotional day for everyone. And those dua from the elderly keep us going. This is what keep us, the smiles, the dua. They love us for us. They just want to be heard. They just want to be treated like human beings. And those smiles. I want to end my presentation with a video about Zena. And I want to show you the impact when the delegations come and visit some families. Zena is just a child that give us all lessons about Ramadan, about giving. And her dream was, when I asked her, if you are rich or we become rich, what do you want? She said, I want to buy peanuts. So I want to end my presentation with this.
احلم انه نصير خلية From 2 weeks ago, before I even knew if I was coming to Lebanon, and I've been waiting for this for such a long time to meet you. So everybody in South Africa knows about you, and we all think you're so strong. الفقر يعني عيشي يعني فيك ما فيكي تشتري شيء ولا أي شيء فيك.
She said it means if I'm hungry and I can't buy food, that means I might die. If I'm ill and I can't get the treatment because I don't have money, this means I will die. So that's why poverty for her means death.
Do you get to eat every day?
Every week. انت عم تقدري تاكلي كل يوم؟
أحيانا يعني مرات يعني بالأسبوعين تجيب أي أكتر أنا آخر مرة أكلت يعني 4 شهور. I give lots of love from South Africa. I am 7 years old. I need lots of love for you. أنا exhausted. أنا كمان ربي يغفرني كتير. وأنا ملي أعجب بالبيت رمضان أعجب رمضان الإنسان كل إنسان بهالمجرة كلها نهاية متى حكوا على الفقراء؟ لأن الفقراء يمكن يوم من الأيام أنتم تصيروا فقراء والفقراء يصيروا أغنياء. نتمنى من الأطفال الأغنياء يساعدوا الأطفال الفقراء. كل ما تساعد طفل أنت عم تبني مستقبل بكل بيت، طفل إلى طفل.
Zena, I wish you hear her voice about saying that more than a meal means future for us, means dignity, means respect. And I want to tell you a brief story about the bag that Brother Ashraf showed you. What's written on this bag, الحب يبدأ من دمشق. It means love starts from Damascus. And it's made by Amal. Amal is an Arabic word that means hope. And this mother of 4 children, she was in Syria and she went at night to bring medicine for her child. And she got kidnapped for a month. And she got raped several times. And she managed to escape and come to Lebanon. And we met her and we knew her story. And she was traumatized. She lost her memory. And with treatment, the doctor told us, bring her a sewing machine because she used to have a sewing machine. So maybe this will help us. When we brought her the sewing machine, her memory returned back to her and she remembered everything happened to her in Syria. When her husband knew this, he left her. He said, I can't just stay with her. And he left her. And she said, I feel alive when I'm just sewing. So we created the sewing center in our Ramon area. And she spends her time teaching other ladies how to sew. And she made this. So when you support the campaign more than a meal, you can support Amal and all women. And she sent this with me and other things. And this is written on it, Hub wa Salam. It means love and peace. And she just asked me to hand her love for every one of you because you are supporting a lot. And Africa Muslims Agency and the donors in South Africa are supporting a lot because you are from far away. You come to Lebanon several times. You just send your support and love. And it's not just about the financial support. It's about the dua, about the feelings, about the emotions and how you feel with them. I want to thank you again for giving me a chance to be the voice of refugees. And thank you very much.
We're just going to break a little bit for meals so you guys can enjoy your meals. But please do not leave. We still have a program afterwards. We're going to be sharing more experiences with the ladies delegation that went to Lebanon. So please do not leave after your meals and even stay around afterwards and interact with Jihan and the ladies in the tents. So enjoy your meals and we'll catch up with you a little later.